Listen, Gotti Ranch don't even exist no more. I ain't gonna say it don't exist because I'm sure I'll bring that back one of these days. But when it comes to the aspect of Gotti Ranch, it's no longer a thing. We sit in the car, I come on here and go off and go live. That's kind of the moment that I'm in right now. So we just gonna pray before I say something I can't take back, but y'all know I don't give two fucks about anything that I say. Yes, I do. Let me stop lying. Y'all know I'm very conscious in the way I report and how I talk about things. I am trained, so I know how to do my job very well. I still articulating myself and getting my point across. Now, with that being said, we all know that, you know, in order to support these dreams that we have, like whether it be you want to be a rapper, a singer, you want to be on somebody's television, you want to be on somebody's radio station or whatever the case, we know that doing that is supporting a dream. And we know that it takes a lot, and sometimes it takes years before you even can get a big break. Though a lot of us have already had a taste of what it is to expect from the lifestyle. Like I think for me, I've been in so many rooms with so many A-list names, but I also hold on. I had to, and that is a damn horse. I had to make sure there wasn't no horses. A horse was running loose in New York the other day. All I heard was hooves. Anyway, back to the point. Yeah, get your little control on that screen, pull it a little tighter. I've been in these rooms with several A-listers, and it does not faze me because I know they're there to do the job just as well as I'm there to do the job. So a lot of people, I think, get into moments where they fan out and, get a little bit overwhelmed when it comes to certain people. But me, I've been on an equal playing field with a lot of these people. And by no means am I saying that we're equal because these people have done way more work than me, seen way more, been in the game longer. But I'm just saying when it comes to being in these rooms, that's not something that's gonna make me run and jump. Like I think for other people, it's more so about clout. It's more so about posting or saying you have a connection with this person versus really, showing up in those rooms and when the time comes, you can meet again and say, hey, I work with you on this. I work with you on that. You know what I'm saying? I think that we have reached a point to where it's more so about proving something to social media for the small set amount of followers or whatever the case is you may have. You want to prove a point to them when there's actually groundwork in real life that has to take place and it has to happen to get you in positions to even sustain a career. Like, for instance, a lot of people have asked me, you have the perfect energy, persona, and everything to be on reality TV. Why haven't you done it yet? Though I think I will be a great fit for reality TV, the right opportunity has to present itself. I'm not going to be one, and I'm not looking down on these networks, but I'm not going to be one that is willing to accept a Zeus paycheck. You know what I'm saying? And let me backtrack that. I'm not even gonna say a paycheck from Zeus, but just by way of association of what that stigma of that network has. You know what I'm saying? That puts you already into a box. And I think we've seen that with a lot of their talent that have now tried to branch out to other networks and they've been denied because they worked with said network. So I think for me, the opportunity has to present itself and it has to be right. And that's just that. I'm not gonna force that in my life right now. If that presents itself to be something that makes sense, like let's just say for instance, they have the podcast like what they had with Tia Kemp and Tokyo and Carissa, Blueface Mom, something like that. It has to make sense. But even then, I'm still gonna be cautious because it's not a race for me. Look, now I'm comfortable how I say that because I was looking at the Mike Epps interview with his interview with Shay Shay Shannon Sharp, and he was like, "It's a marathon, not a race." So I need to make sure I say it correctly. Oh, hey, what's up? I see you in the comments. Thanks for joining. Um, so yeah, I need to make sure I said it correctly. But for me, it's just not a race, and I think a lot of people get caught up in the thing of, oh, I have to have it by this, I have to have it by that. Now, I was one that used to say I gotta have something by this age. But I think for me, it was more so manifestation than putting a time frame or limit to myself. And the internet, again, plays a part in that because we oftentimes, like I said on my last episode of the Kev Gotti Show, if you guys have not seen it, episode 5 is out right now. So go ahead and leave this live and simply click on the page. It will be the last uploaded video. I was just talking about how, we think that we have to be at a certain point because of peers that have already achieved that when, you never know how long it may be before you get that big break. And that's not what anybody should be aiming for. What you should be aiming for is the opportunity to walk in and live your life and express yourself in the best way possible every day. It shouldn't be about whether you're on this set or that set. Yes, it's great. Those are things we're aiming for, but you're going to take every opportunity that you get on the daily and try to just strive and make it work. I think that we all should do things that align with us, and that's going to bring me right around to working a traditional 9 to 5. Not to knock anyone. I think that we've all came into this realm of, I need to pick up a mic. I need to do this. I need to do that. When a person like me, last year, well, I would say really last summer, really, not even a full year yet. Last summer was going through a phase of, is this even what I want to do? Is this even something that I want to continue? Because it became such a popularity contest, I believe, more so than putting in the actual work. And then now roll out a couple months later, things like AI taking over, where it's not even a need to have, backtrack that, I'm not gonna say that. It's not a need, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it, it's not a need for a traditional voice anymore because everybody has a voice. And if we are gonna go that route, we're now looking at who already has a name, who can I attach to it. We're not building anything. And I think when it came to the 90s, and the reason why I say the 90s in particular is because we have to realize the 90s and early 2000s was the advancement for a lot of the things that we're seeing today. The entertainment business and show business have been going on for years before that. Like a lot of people have laid the foundation when it comes to the 80s, the 70s, the 60s, hell, even the 50s. And let's not even talk about the people in the 40s and the 30s and the things that they had to endure in the 20s that they had to endure to get us to where we're at. But when it comes to urban media, when it comes to the whole field of, I feel like radio, reporting, gossiping, blogs, all of that kind of took a life of its head of its own in the late 90s, rolling on into the 2000s. And it just became a popularity contest. And I think things like the Shade Room and Neighborhood Talk, these are good blogs. I remember the time and place you had to go to a blog on a website. You had to go to the Media Takeout. You had to go to Straight from the A. You had to go to these places and read, We wouldn't just be in the comment section leaving a comment, or the average person wasn't just going on Amazon and buying a microphone and saying that they had a podcast or a talk show. Though those things were available, that wasn't the it thing to do. And I think that everything is a trend, just like with females. I was looking at a video and a hairstylist was speaking about, the thing with lace fronts. Lace fronts is not something that is supposed to be applied daily. He was saying that that's something that's supposed to be applied, for TV, for showbiz, and that's it. And like the average person's walking around with it. So I think trends are always going to be trends. We're always going to see something and copy. But when it comes to the lane of journalism, I think we missed the point that there's a large number of us that actually have thought about the day that we would be able to sit in a seat at the Breakfast Club. Thought about the day that we would be able to sit and have conversations with what's now not with Hot 97, with Ebro. A chance to go on to Wendy and speak with Wendy, a chance to sit with Miss Jones and talk with her, a chance to go on to all of these shows that we have, like Oprah, things that are no longer even existing. Like a lot of talk shows, I think we all had the mindset that one day we would get there because that's who we looked up to. We didn't think that, us going to college, spending, in my case, $38,000 a semester. Well, I'll just say the year. I'll give it a year for Clark. I'll go ahead and give you a year. CAU, find a way to make one. A lot of people in the admissions office, at times when I didn't have the next dollar to make a payment, sometimes they'll hit some zeros for me or cleared it, And I just want to shout out to the people at Clark University, Clark Atlanta University. Let me be correct. I stay calling it Clark University because it's the Atlanta University Center. But shout out to the people at Clark Atlanta. Um, Really, finding a way to make one. They stand by that slogan. But we didn't know that years would pass and our degrees and money spent and having toe up credit scores and all of these things would be a factor in our career not even being a driving force anymore. Like a lot of media personalities and things of that nature, we're kind of just like, whatever. There's a lot of people with journalism degrees. Do they have jobs? No. Back in the 90s, they would work with you to build a star. You were building an artist. You have artist development and A&Rs. Those things don't even really even exist. Yes, the name exists, but I think Jermaine Dupri said it in the best way. We have gotten too soft. We have letting the A&Rs become our friends and not really tell us what we need to hear about music. Speaks about music, how music has changed. Just a lot of things that I think play a part. But when it comes to your day-to-day life, it's like, how do you function when having a setup like that? When having, okay, I spent all this time growing up, going to college, doing the right thing, staying on the right path, to only finish and to know that my degree stands nowhere. And it's not just journalism. It's not. Like for instance, the criminal people that got, excuse me, y'all. I'm out here at Central Park walking. But a lot of the people that, went and got criminal justice degrees at one point in time, that's all you were seeing because it was the quickest way and quickest thing to get. But not knowing that wouldn't be a thriving, I'm not gonna say thriving, but that wouldn't be something that you can just go and run and get a job with that degree. It was so much more after that, I think, people did not know. That's just one for instance. But, like I said, it just puts you in a place of in your day-to-day life where you don't want to work under the direction of something that's not parallel with what you're trying to do. Now, if you're at a younger age, you don't really have a choice. You're gonna work. We need those people that work at these fast food chains. We need those people that's working in restaurants. We need doctors. We need nurses. There's things that you're gonna always need, no matter how far technology tries to advance itself. There's gonna be certain key points that are gonna be important. And I think that it's good that we still have the average person that take pride and joy in going to a regular job. Everyone has dreams and aspirations, but when it comes to certain playing fields, I think we've watered it down so much. And it's a lot of reasons on why that has happened. Who am I to point them out? Because there's several different things, and then that could just lead into several different more. But, my whole thing is, if you have the means to stick with something, I'll just say this, stick with something that feeds your soul versus something that's just gonna get you a paycheck. Because at the end of the day, your peace of mind is what really matters. You leaving a job, having an attitude, or being upset with coworkers, or at home pondering and thinking on things that the next person probably don't even know that they bumped you or offended you in that way. I think that it's important that we just kind of feed our spirit in the right direction. And that's me speaking from personal experiences too. I think that I go into people, corporations, and businesses and instantly put on my hat of, yes, I've had to be a manager. Yes, I've had to run stores. Yes, I've had to run a team of people. I have no problem with doing that. But I think I go into other corporations and try to, understand the basic keys and principles of how people move and operate, because a lot of this shit that people do on jobs just don't make any sense. And I noticed that, I may be offended by something that happened, and the next person 5 minutes later don't even really even know that they offended me in that way. And that happens a lot in life, and not just even at jobs. We run into people, you may be meeting them on a bad day. Hell, not even a bad day, you just simply don't mix. What Young Sheldon said, there's positive and negative charges, energies in this world. So I just think you're not gonna mix with everybody, but there is a way to go about it. I just think workplace drama is just unnecessary. For instance, today, y'all know I'm working a 9 to 5. It's cool, it's aligned with my goals and everything that I said here. So I'm not, just not practicing what I'm preaching. I'm trying to, stay within alignment of my career and where I'm going at this point because I am well in doubt throughout my 20s, almost done with them. But God, I thank you, we're still here. I'm still kicking, So I think I pretty much aligned myself with the right things. I spent my early 20s and teenage years working a million and one jobs. I think my friends can tell you and people that are close to me. I remember one time I opened up my armrest and I had like 15 different name badges for different jobs. And these incredible things. These wasn't just like your average, just whatever job. These are like good jobs that, I could have footing in for the future. But if it does not align with me, I'm not gonna do it. And, a lot of people from the outside looking in don't really see or understand. But when it comes to certain positions and jobs, I feel like you have to have support. You have to have family or a partner or someone that may need to support you because oftentimes we go into these positions and jobs and it's nowhere near meeting or fitting a tax bracket that's going to help us survive. But sometimes you have to be able to put in that time. And that's pretty much what it is for every career field, I would say. I can't speak for just a regular job. I can speak for a career field wise. If you see yourself making a career in a job, it's oftentimes you're gonna have to put in that 5, 6, 7, 8 years before you even start to benefit from it. But why is that the case? Who's to say you have 5 years in you? Who's to say you have 6 years in you to do, said thing? We honestly don't know until we just look up and it's the 6, 7 year anniversary of the job. And we just sat there for years and let time pass. And I think COVID is a prime testament to that. Like, I was on the phone with somebody the other day and they really was like in just disbelief when I kind of broke it down that we're 6 years from 2020. I think that it like went over their head, and not even just in a bad way, it just went over their head because when you really think about it, we really lost 6 years. Now, on the flip side, some people this may have been the best 6 years of their life. Others, they have been affected in the worst way, like most of America. Businesses, cities, the housing markets, everything I think have been affected. But some people have realized and utilized their time or just been trying to stay afloat throughout these 6 years. Then you have some people that really don't even know that we're in 2026 mentally, from a mental standpoint, their mind is stuck on 2020, the lockdown, and all the things that happened then. So I think that it's important to value time as well and not allow a job to waste that time. Go in with a clear conscious and clear mindset of what it is that you want. Voice that, give it some time. And if you don't see that happening, it's simply time to move on, because there's always something else. Even a job that I had, I'm not gonna lie, it was a pretty good job. I can't even knock that. But again, if it doesn't align with me, if it doesn't align with my peace, it doesn't make sense for me, I'm just simply not gonna do it. So I remember telling some people that I worked with that, hey, I won't be with the company anymore, blah, 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 blah. And they damn near, well, one person, she was really supportive. Still talk to her to this day. The other two guys, because it was in a group chat, the other two guys, basically like one started blowing my phone up. The other one was texting me like trying to make a understanding, trying to basically rip me to shreds, not understanding why. But it all goes back to my walk is not your walk. Like, you like, for instance, that situation in particular, I can even break it down more. This person was set up financially from years, just set up financially, I would say, for when they reached adulthood, to be prepared to do things like that. Not everyone is set up from that, especially when you coming from a place where you just finished, having to look the other way for 38K a semester. You know what I'm saying? So you spend that, and then you are expected to go work at a job that's not even bringing you peace. Hell no. I can go and sit at home and be unhappy and be worried about what my next dollar is versus going into a place every day, putting myself in a bad mental state. You know, the wear and tear that creates on a human, you know, we got to stop sitting here saying, oh, it's life. It's life. That's what's subjective of grandparents and great grands and, you know, the people born from the 30s and 40s, the hell the 50s, some from the 60s that think that's the way of living. You think that you have to go and work in a steel plant and stay for years upon years until the retirement comes because that's all. No, it's all perception. That's based off what you've been taught. That's based on what you've been conditioned and trained to do. How do we ever get to the next level if we're always scared to even take that leap of faith? And, you know, if it's just not my walk, it's just not my walk. Some fuck ups may be on me, and some may be on the job. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna do what makes me happy and what pleases me. So when that situation arises, it just showed me like, hey, you know, some people will never understand. And that's absolutely okay. You can't let that dictate or determine your next move. And, you know, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just very weird. But I had to come through and holler at y'all. You know, I be like this every day, but I be trying to have self-control so I don't just come on here and go and ranting. But that is the reason why I miss the element of Gotti rants live from the car. Y'all know I was down in Atlanta hustling, and I was looking back at those vlogs the other day, man. Like, I wasn't ashamed to come on here and show y'all that I wasn't finna go clock into a job. I was leaving the radio station, working mornings, whether that was 5 to 10, 10 to 2, 2 to 6, or 6 to 10. I was able to be flexible and work any shift that was when it came to radio. And you know what I did outside of that to make sure I was staying afloat? Because, again, radio is a dream of something that you have to work. That's not something you go in and you getting your $500,000 salaries for a year, 2 years, or your 1.2 or $3 million salaries for a year or 2 years. No, that's not the case when it comes to radio. When it comes to radio, it's really a game of putting in that time. And it kind of is funny, but it ties back to, like I said, you know, going into these jobs and being expected to wait 10 years to get that payout. Essentially, that's what radio is, but pick your stitch on your niche. But back to my point, you know, I think that I'm not ever really afraid to show people or let people know the ways of things that I have to do to make it work for me, and whatever that looks like. The way I make it work, again, my walk is not yours. So I wasn't scared to get on here and show y'all that I would leave the radio station and then shit, clock in and do some Uber Eats for a couple hours, because that was one thing, you know, going on set, working production. And then if I'm not working production, I'll go work a background check and collect that check. Yeah, I'm waiting on it for 2 or 3 weeks, but I know I was booked for the whole last month or such and so and so forth and so on and so forth. You know, I'm never afraid to show the hustle. Like, this shit ain't glitz and glam at all times. And I think that more artists have to speak out, and not just a music artist. I think people, like, we all considered, we're artists. You know, anybody that can have to go and sit somewhere and express themselves on a camera and get into a role or go on the radio and be a personality, you're artists. And, you know, we all have a story to tell once we get to the top. And I think it's just walking that path. And I've never been afraid to share the things that I have to do and the things that, you know, just align for me. Like, a lot of people be ashamed. I'm so sitting here looking at videos of Gotti rants. I'm hearing the Uber ding go off in the back. And I'm just thinking, like, you know, I was never really afraid to just go off the limb and do other things, because I was still aligned with what I wanted to do. And, you know, radio is what it was at that time. And I gave a lot and put in a lot, and on the back end didn't really get much in respect. But, you know, I met people that I have. My first love was that, and that's what I went back to. And I think that did play a part in my conclusion so quickly. But hey, I had other obligations. But, you know, man, I just think that we just got to keep walking our walk. And every day is not glitz and glams, like I say. And people just have to be okay with sharing that, because a lot of people get into this realm and then they fall off. You know, 5 months pass, 6 months pass, and then they see, oh, I thought I was about to be an instant hit. I thought I was about to get 1,000 views. I thought I was going to get 1,000,000 views. I thought it was going to be like instant. And then they realize that it's a long game that you have to play. There is no calendar of expiration or whatever timeline you come up with in your head. I guarantee that that's going to be the case, you know? You just have to figure it out, man. figured out. But I try to come on here and holler at y'all. I'm gonna see y'all Monday for episode 6 of the Kev Gotti Show. I want you guys to go and tune in on the page. Like I said, all of the recent uploads are the Kev Gotti Show. I haven't done much of any vlogging or anything outside of the Kev Gotti Show. Every episode has been climbing. I want to say thank you to the people that are supporting and that are watching. And just keep doing that for me. I'll see y'all Monday. We'll chat more. This was really, really fun. But I may come back later. I got a lot of free time, but I'm about to sit out here by this water at Central Park and get my extracurricular on. And yeah, so I'll see y'all in a bit. I didn't even talk about what I wanted to talk about coming here. And, y'all couldn't even tell that. But reaching the end, I'll share that with y'all. I came here to really bash and go off from a meeting that I just left. But I didn't even share the information of that. And what I said at the beginning, I'm very trained. So y'all have a great Tuesday. It's your boy Gotti. I am signing out. Thanks for the love and support. I really appreciate it. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a thing. We're on the come up, man. If you don't know who I am, just go back 2 years from the YouTube and start there. It's your boy Gotti. I'm out.